So today we have the pre-order date for Piety and Pain, and a new monstrous stat line for Lelith Hesperax, who will average you 14 hits on most infantry units. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're just taking a look at another Warhammer community preview, with some news on Lelith, the Sisters of Battle Palatine, and the actual release date of this fairly well anticipated box. So Piety and Pain is the Sisters vs Drukhari box that has been previewed since Christmas. We now know that it will be going on pre-order alongside the Drukhari Codex, which has now been confirmed to the 20th of March. It's fairly rare for these box sets to contain no Space Marines on either side, and it does look like there's a fair amount of valuable miniatures in here. The Sisters have their new Palatine Lieutenant model with a Retributor squad and an Immolator. They'd cost you around about £100 or $165 if bought separately, mainly due to how expensive that Immolator is. The Drukhari have that new plastic sculpt for Lelith Hesperax herself, a Venom, some Witches and some Scourges. With a new codex coming out, it's going to be interesting to see how these are reimagined. There's always the potential for some really quite radical stat changes in these new 9th edition codexes. It looks like between the two there's something like around £190 or a bit over $300, and that would make me suspect that it might be priced somewhere around the Christmas Battlefield box mark, maybe £120 or £125. Or somewhere around $200 to $210. I think that would be a fairly expected saving. I guess we can always cross our fingers that they don't just hoik the prices up because they've released a couple of new miniatures within the box. We can hope. In any case, whatever the price is, 2 copies of these will be going for the Auspex Tactics channel giveaway for April. I had already announced that and I wasn't entirely sure when they'd be coming out, so it's nice that they're nice and early. As always, those prize giveaways have 2 ways to enter, either via being a regular Patreon member, where for a small amount each month you always have the chance of winning some big model kits, and it also helps to support the channel. Or you can support via social media, liking the Facebook page, subscribing to the YouTube channel, and then entering the draw with a picture of your miniature on the first of the month. I then do the draw with a random number generator and post out to you wherever you are in the world. You can find the link down to the Patreon or the Facebook page in the video description if you're interested. In any case, all that aside, we do have some rather tasty new stats for Lelith herself that have come out on Warhammer Community today. With her new points since the January points reshuffle, she's 90 points, so fairly cheap for a very fighty HQ choice, and it would appear that she's getting even fightier with this update. She's got a movement of 8, weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+, strength and toughness 3, 5 wounds, 7 attacks, leadership 8 and a 6+ save. The biggest jump is that she's gone from 7 attacks from 4, though typically if she was armed with 2 combat blades like before, she would have got 5, so in real terms she has an increase of 2 attacks. However, those blades have had a fairly helpful adjustment. They've gone up from strength 3 to strength 4, though they have lost a pip of AP, going down to AP -3. On balance, I'd much rather have the strength boost rather than having AP -4. Finally, they've got another hardwired special rule, which means that each time an attack is made by the weapon, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit on the target. As she's hitting on 2s, that actually means that she averages as many hits as she has attacks, so in a normal round of fighting, you can expect 7 hits out of her. However, that is far from the end though. Her Natural Perfection special rule, which used to boost one of her stats, now has 2 different helpful abilities. You have to choose between one of these in your command phase. First, you can go for Thrilling Acrobatics, which means that until the end of the turn she can advance and charge, or fall back and charge. That's really quite helpful if her target's quite a long way off and you really want to guarantee that she makes it in there. That means that she's going to be very hard to pin down once she's actually locked in combat. However, the second half of the rule I think is even more interesting. Gory Spectacle is the other option, and it means that in the fight phase, provided she slew 1 enemy model, then at the end of the fight phase she can fight all over again. That means against most troop units she is quite likely to kill a model with all of those strength 4 attacks, so it means that she'll typically be fighting with 14 attacks over the course of the whole fight phase. She's going to absolutely blend infantry. Typically that will be around 3 dead Space Marines or 9 dead Guardsmen. Not too bad at all for a 90-point character. And of course she's likely got other special rules as well that we haven't seen. On her last profile, even her hair got a few extra attacks via the Mane of Barbs and Hooks rule. That wouldn't be the most storied end for a Space Marine, getting cut to ribbons by Dark Eldar's fancy hair. And if she does still have that, then it's likely that she'll be able to fight with that twice with that Gory Spectacle rule. Previously as well, she got full rerolls against characters, both to hit and wound, which was really quite useful given her fairly low strength, and also she can gain access to combat drugs, and she will get a warlord trait of some sort, either something fighty or mobility based would be my guess. Obviously we're going to have to wait for the rest of her rules, but she is looking at least fairly lethal at the moment, though I suspect that she might struggle with anything that's toughness 5 or above. She's going to be very much an infantry and character hunter, I think. Finally, from the same preview, we also have the stat line for the Palatine, and her Fury of the Righteous rule that we already knew. She's basically going to be functioning as a Sister's Lieutenant, re-rolling 1s to wound, which will be pretty powerful as well when stacked up next to a Canoness, though I strongly suspect it will be limited to the core keyword in the new Sisters Codex whenever that comes out. Until then though, because that doesn't exist, this should work on things like Exorcists or other big guns. I think the reroll 1s to wound could be particularly helpful and still help buff all of Sister's Flamer weapons, which they have a bit of a niche for, as the Canonesses reroll 1s to hit won't be doing anything for them, because of course they don't roll to hit. Just as an aside, I thought the box art for Piety and Pain was quite interesting as well. We've got the Sisters Palatine fighting against Lelith Hesperax in single combat, and I must say the chances of the Palatine winning that fight are pretty much slim to none. Can't help but think she's going to have quite a lot of blades sticking out of her if we fast forward a few seconds in that combat. So as always, looking forward to hearing what you think about Piety and Pain and those new rules in general. Let me know down in the comments below. Feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics if you'd like to keep up with Games Workshop news like this. And if you would like to help support the channel, as well as enter that prize draw, a link to the channel's Patreon page is in the video description below. Making all these videos does take a fair amount of time, and if you are enjoying regularly, any support is most definitely appreciated. In any case, a massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.